Welcome to Conversation with Haych, and the final episode of season 4 with another amazing guest, former dancehall raver, formerly known as Vanity. Now she's an amazing educator of the word in academia who specializes in English. She's the best woman preacher right now according to one Pastor Rhona Tackie. She's also the First Lady of Art 2.0. I introduced you to the incredible woman of God. Some of you knew her as Rhona. Okay, hold on. See, this is the last name. I had it, you know. I've been practicing.
I was waiting for it. I was like,
let me tell you
is he gonna do it?
I've been practicing, you know. Hold on, give me 2 seconds.
Okay, go on.
Rhona. See, I'm adding M's instead of N's in your name now because, okay. Rhona Mpologoma.
Yeah.
There's a little twist up in there, a little piece, you know. But a lot of us now know her as Mrs. Rhona Tackie. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm good, you know, I'm good.
Good.
So for those who don't know who you are, who is Rhona Tackie?
Well, Rhona Tackie, I've got to get used to this setting too. Rhona Tackie's a newlywed, number one. Rhona Tackie is a woman, first and foremost. A woman of Black British heritage. I take pride in my Ugandan roots. Aside from that, I'm a woman of God. I pursue the Lord. I'd say that the scriptures, Jesus, is at the core of my being. These are the things that I would say define who I am. Being a child of God is what centers me, because everything as far as how I live stems from that place of who is God, what did God intend for me, what did God intend for the way that I interact with the world around me. So a lot of who I am stems, and all of who I am, I would say, stems from that place. Rhona Tackie, as far as what I do, I am as you said, First Lady of 2.0. I don't like to use that term, but my husband Omar and I oversee ARC 2.0, a church with 200 plus members. We're a year and a month old. So I wear that hat and I assume that role in assisting and supporting him as he oversees and shepherds this massive flock. Alongside an amazing team, an amazing group of people who we couldn't do what we do without. That brings its own challenges, which I'm sure we'll discuss and get into. I'm a teacher, I teach English, that's a passion of mine. I enjoy, this is secondary school English. So Rhona is somebody, I would say, resilient, very patient, because dealing with teenagers is a task. So I teach, I preach the word, again, with God at the center of my world and the scriptures at the center of my life. It's meant that certain gifts that I didn't know I had have been pulled out of me, and one of those is preaching and teaching the word of God. And so I preach unashamedly, I preach boldly, I deliver the word of God as sincerely as I can. I couple that with real life, with my own experiences, either with God or people's experiences that I've seen, even outside of religion, outside of faith, and I say that's who I am.
So tell me a bit about earlier life and your upbringing.
I had an interesting upbringing.
Okay.
So I was born in this country. I obviously, as I said, my mum's Ugandan, dad's Ugandan. I lost my father when I was, I want to say 2.5, maybe 1.5, 2 years old, somewhere there. My mum never remarried, so I grew up in a single parent household. So growing up, I was born here. Then when my father passed away, we went back to Uganda because my mum didn't have pretty much of a support system in this country. She came over here with my dad. So we went back over there, and it was pretty much me being reared by just community, as it is in Africa. I imagine in the Caribbean as well. Uncles, aunties. I remember a good chunk of my childhood with my granddad. He was like my best friend. And that was, while that was happening, what I didn't know is my mum was grieving. So she's overcoming and crying in the other, you know, he had like my granddad had his property, but then there'd be properties attached or nearby. So she'd be like, you know, I've heard stories of her wailing in one of the houses whilst I'm just there playing, getting on with things, really unaware. So what that then meant is she still wanted to create a stable life for myself, for her. So she went back to, came back to London, and I was under the care of my grandparents. And obviously over there you have, you also have your when a father dies, the brother will be like the heir. He will assume, or there'll be one of the brothers that assumes the role of the father. So there was an uncle who essentially took me on as one of his children. So I stayed with him, his wife, his children, went to boarding school for a little bit. I can't remember, I feel like that might have been like a year or two I was in boarding school in Uganda. So I grew up like a little bilingual baby. English as my first language, Luganda as my second, I think, or maybe, I don't know which one would have been first. But I know there's like little stories of when I came back to Uganda from London, and my mum trying to let me play on the ground, but I'm used to the UK and how the UK looks and feels as a baby. And she tried to put me down, but I don't know if you've seen these videos of babies that are put on grass and they just lift their little legs up. That was me. I was like, I don't like this. And she was like, those are things that you would do because you just weren't accustomed. Anyway, long story short, she comes back to London, leaves me there. I'm under the care of basically a community. I'm in boarding school. I don't remember much in that time of her and I having lots and lots of contact. I imagine she would have come now and again to like see me and things, but I just remember a lot of family rearing and raising me. I had a happy childhood. I wasn't aware of any lack or anything like that. Boarding school wasn't a great experience.
No, I can imagine. Let's talk a little bit about that, because you've gone from being in a family environment, really surrounded by all those it takes a village to raise a child, essentially type thing. So then going to a boarding school away from people, away from the family. What's that like? So I was actually there with my cousin, who would have been my sister. So in that family. So she was there. She was a couple of years, I think, older than I was. So she'd look out for me, but it wasn't great because I was used to living a certain way and being treated a certain way. But then here I am, as though I'm just like I'm just like everybody else, for lack of a better word. I was my mum's only child. I used to get whatever. I'm my granddad's baby. I was spoiled rotten. So to be in an environment where it's like queue up to get your porridge and your whatever, or I don't know, literal, we have like this Uganda dish called posho. It's like maybe the equivalent to like pounded yam. It would be that and beans, and that's it. That's dinner. What? So it's very, it's like prison food almost. It was a lot. It was difficult. They cut my hair. What?
Girls they didn't have long hair in boarding school, so they shaved my head.
So then even trying to make everyone look even more.
Yeah, I had proper level 1 vibes. Like it was a lot.
All the way around.
Yeah, just all the way. No shape.
No shape. Just everything. Just rounded off.
So it was a lot. And I think this is the story that I've heard, is that when they sent my mum a picture of what they did to my hair, she was like, I'm coming back for my child. She was like, I can't do this. She was saving up money already and everything like that. But I think then is when I travelled with a couple of cousins. They took me to an aunt's house, and then my mum and I kind of met over there, and she took me, and we just started living together from, that was the age, I think I was like 6. Yeah, I was like 6. So then I start living with mum again, in London again, but I have to adjust again, because I've kind of become used to a certain culture. You kneel for adults, you know, all those kinds of things. If you need to answer a question in class, you stand up. So I'm there in primary school, kneeling for my teachers and things like that. They called my mum in. They were like, we're a bit concerned, because they thought, what's going on? Why is your child kneeling every time they speak to an adult? Or standing up every time they need to answer a question? And she clarified it's a cultural thing and all that kind of stuff. So I spent some time in primary school adjusting back to the culture I was, I guess, born into. Yeah. And then since then, it's pretty much growing up was great. I mean, I'd say I had a stable, loving relationship with my mum, mutual respect. But I think around about the age, when I was around 7, I think that's when I comprehended that I didn't have a dad. Around about the age of 7. I think but early, because I was so consumed with everything else, I wasn't really aware. But at the age of like 7, I was aware, my dad's not around, he's not coming back. And my mum's really sad about it. Because I'd come into her room, she'd just be in tears. And I just started to learn how to console her. And I think from the age of 7, 8 years old, I was forced into maturity, forced into being an adult.
7, 8?
Yeah. Forced in, like, I mean, it was either do this. This was my assumption. It was either do this, or the house is the household is crumbling, because the emotions were so raw for my mum. You know, she's lost the love of her life. They were high school sweethearts. Like it wasn't like they just met somewhere and had a child. They were together. Her first love and all that kind of stuff. Their first child, and then he goes a year and a half. I mean, you can imagine the trauma. And so I learnt to console my mum. I learnt how to comfort her with words, how to comfort her with my presence. And while that was good for her, it also was bad for her and bad for me, because I kind of assumed the role of her husband. I then assumed the role of being my own father. I then assume, and I become this entity. And while I become this entity, I'm simultaneously depriving myself of a childhood from like 8 onwards. So even in my social group, I'm the agony aunt. Like, if there's problems, go to Rhona, she's going to have an answer. That was secondary school, people coming to me with their problems. This and this is going on, this and this. And I'm just like, oh, well, why don't you... And I'm just vomiting out all this stuff that I've probably heard somewhere, read somewhere, assumed somewhere, and sometimes it lands. And then that just kind of became a way of life for us, and it became the dynamic of mine and my mum's relationship. And it's only, I'd say, since I started dating Omar, obviously long before marriage, I realized that this couldn't work. This dynamic of me trying to be a partner to two people. Wow. It couldn't work. And then I had to go through therapy and deal with all of that. So yeah, childhood was interesting. It was up and it was down. But
how do you feel you taking on such a weight at such a young age affects you now?
I'd say that even in the mess that I created in assuming that role, there's something beautiful that God pulled out of it, because in me assuming responsibility at such a young age and becoming this thing, it's meant that the places and spaces I'm in now, I can handle and manage with a level of grace that I don't know that I would have been able to had I not gone through some of the experiences. So while it was messy, I think God's turned it around into being something quite beautiful, because again,
as he does.
Exactly, as he does. Wherever it is, if it's friendship groups, if it's in my partnership with Omar and overseeing 2.0, if it's wherever it is, I'm finding that a lot of the things I went through have now become sort of stepping stones and have allowed me to develop muscles that mean I'm not overcome or overwhelmed by the places and spaces I'm in. So, yeah.
What did you want to become when you were younger? And did what you kind of had to take on in terms of responsibility affect the trajectory of that?
Yes, it did. I wanted to become a few things.
Okay.
So without responsibility, without anybody else's input, I wanted to either be a dancer. What kind of dance, I don't know. Not dance hall, but or some kind of just, I don't know, some kind, I don't know, contemporary, I don't know.
Okay.
Some kind of movement.
Yeah.
That would have been one.
Yeah.
Another would have been some kind of artist, whether painting, sketching, because those were things that when I was really young, had a natural knack for sketching, for anything like that. Had an eye for detail and, you know, always did really well in art. But obviously, I'm an African girl. Where am I going with this? Would be my mums or aunties. What can you do with an art degree? All that kind of stuff.
We need doctors. We
need doctors and lawyers. Yeah. So the other thing I wanted to be was a lawyer. And I think that was more, I wanted to because I do like to talk. I like debate. I like thinking. I like thinking critically. I like interpreting things. Yeah. I do enjoy that way. So while the lawyer side was definitely the influence of my elders, there was something in it that I think I would have enjoyed. So I did want that. And I did, at a point, want to be a teacher. This was super young, but that was like, that. I think it was just a moment in time. And I think I mentioned it to my friends because they're the ones that remind me, because I don't even remember saying I wanted to. Yeah. Wanted to be a teacher, wanted to teach English specifically, because again, I liked to talk. I like language. I like expression. I like grey areas. And I thought a subject like English lends itself well to that. So those are the things I wanted to do. How the kind of the hats I had to wear from a young age affect that. I think what ended up happening is maybe the things I wanted to do in my childhood, just the innocent kind of whimsical desires of dance and art, I didn't get to do because the responsible me and the me that wanted to offer stability financially, emotionally, mentally, knew that the thing to do is to go down either lawyer or teacher route, because you're either getting money or you're never out of work if you're a teacher kind of thing. So I'd say that nature informed the career path I took without me even really realizing. And so I did end up teaching. Thank God I love it. You know, it's not something that I hate or resent or anything like that. I do love what I do. Still overworked, underpaid, but it's okay.
As with most teachers, probably all teachers.
But it's okay because there's still a passion for the subject, there's a passion for children, so it's fine. But yeah, I'd say a lot of how life went informed the decision that I made in going down that career path.
When was the last time you painted or sketched or?
So long ago. I can't even tell you how long ago. It'd have to be in school. I remember I was in a work meeting, funnily enough. So this would have been in my last school. This would have been, let's say, I want to say like before the pandemic. So let's say maybe 3 years ago. I'm sitting in a work meeting, and then I had a phone case with a lion on the back. And I just took off the phone case, really bored in this work meeting. It's a pointless meeting. And then I just start what I feel was doodling. I'm just like doodling this picture of this lion on a bit of paper, just what I can see. And I'm just drawing. And then afterwards I stepped back from it. I was like, this is pretty decent. And I think in that moment I was taken back to that talent and that gift and how neglected it is, and how therapeutic that moment felt for me, being in an environment that I didn't necessarily want to be in, but I was able to kind of have this outer body, otherworldly experience just in drawing. So it's been too long, I would say, but it is something that I enjoy. I kind of find it takes me away a little bit, and it's lovely.
Because clearly the gift's still there.
Yeah, it is still there. It is still there.
Regardless of how long it is between.
Yeah, I just haven't done anything with it.
But there's time.
There's definitely time.
First, when I started kind of like doing more research on who you were, started watching, you preach and those types of things. Wow, this is great, superb. But then I went to the YouTube channel, and you were telling a story about, how you were, a young dancehall, dancehall raver, fanatic, and I said, hold on, this
doesn't correlate.
This Rhona who's speaking of war and love, this is the same. Yeah. So how do you go from loving family, supporting? Was that kind of your release then, essentially?
Do you know what? I can't even tell. Okay, I'll say this. An element of it is a release, but was it even as deep as needing a release? Maybe it was, but I wasn't aware of it. How do I get from point A to point B?
Yes.
So I was a very well-behaved child, considering how much freedom I had, because my mum used to work night shifts.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be out like that. This is prior raving and things like that. I wouldn't be out. I would make my own dinners. I would do my homework. I would put myself to bed at 9.
You was good. You was good. Yeah.
I was good. And then I heard dancehall for the first time.
That's how it starts.
I'm so it was just infectious. It was infectious, and I'm gonna be real. It was infectious. The rhythm, the beat, the culture, the confidence within that world, what you could become in that space, I think, was just, at the time, I didn't have the language to say that's what was happening for me and what I appreciated so much about it. I just saw it as it's just vibes, or whatever word I would have used at the time.
Yeah.
But there was so much within it, because with dancehall, it wasn't just the music. It wasn't just music. It wasn't just Idonia, vibes class. It wasn't those things. It was the entire culture. It was the people that you would meet. It was the dress sense. It was the language. It was the community, because there's a community within that.
Yeah.
So what people may see is, a girl shocking out, just moving crazy,
jumping off the ladder,
doing all of that stuff. But there is this whole other back story attached to whatever is happening in those moments. And so it started with the night shifts. It started with, I think, maybe a couple of cousins taking me to under 18 things. And then I'm just like, this is good. This is enjoyable. This is fun. And I can move to this. And I'm good at this, from what people are, saying and implying, and the crowd's response and stuff. And then it quickly escalated from under 18 things to one of my birthdays. Because it's like there was different types of people in the dancehall setting. There'd be the girly girls that just do whatever the girly girls would do, enjoying themselves in the corner, and then there'd be the dancers. And I was with the dancers, and those were predominantly male, and you'd have the odd girl here and there.
Like the routine? Are you like the routine dancers
with
the foot and that side, and then
with all the
everything's
footwork,
going, and then everything's,
all of that. So I was with those guys. And one of them, who was in my circle, happened to be a DJ, still a DJ now, really he's blown now. And they were like, let's go to this club in the area that I grew up in. Obviously, this is a big people club now. This isn't, I'm obviously underage, but they've got the connects.
Yes. Yeah.
And so I get in there, and I mean, again, maybe this is just me being an individual who likes to be immersed in things and feel really present. But I get in there and it's just, I could remember every detail even now. Like the music is thumping, it's pitch black, there's just glow in the dark artwork on the walls and the ceiling. The atmosphere is just, I feel like electric is so cliche, but there's just this like these waves of adrenaline sweeping over you as you're coming into this place. You get in, it's bustling, it's busy, there's, smells of weed, drink, whatever. And you're familiar with the songs, and like I was always a sucker for a DJ that could mix well. Like if you can mix well, I don't care who you are, we're friends. Because I couldn't handle a DJ that couldn't mix. Like, what are we doing? The sounds are clashing, it's a lot. So a DJ that could mix well was my back. Like that's me, like you and I are gonna be friends. And so this is my first big people, because obviously I'm going to the under 18s, it'd be...
It's not the same.
It's not the same, it'd be maybe the guy that's in college learning how to mix kind of thing. And it was decent, but these are professionals now at this point. And so I'm there, all of that's happened, there's been this build up, I'm there, and I'm immersed in it. I'm dancing, I'm this, I'm that. But now it's not just the crowd, you've got your big old yardie hype man on the mic, like, what, watch out, all of that, all the klaxons and this and the wheel up, all of that.
You're hearing all of that.
So it's just gassing you. Like, let's just be honest, it's just gassing you. So at this point, I'm just like feeling myself. I'm like, no one can tell me nothing. I'm in here on my birthday. I've got pure wheel ups. I don't even know how many wheel ups I've got. I'm just feeling like I'm it. And then from there, I'm hooked. I'm addicted to that feeling of gratification and that feeling of praise and affirmation from strangers, you know what I mean? And then that's it. That's me. It's not every Saturday. It's Friday. It's Saturday. It's if I can get in the middle of the week, then midweek probably not, because I'd have school. That's
the only thing stopping you. If I didn't have school, could be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday,
it could
Saturday.
be any day of the week. But honestly, from there, it's Fridays, it's Saturdays, and I'm there every weekend, to the point where, like, they'd have the TV, you have TVs in the clubs, and maybe they might loop events and things or whatever.
And
so
pictures from
the night, the previous nights or the week before. It's just like it's regular now to see myself just looping on the different TVs. Yeah, it was just normal. Your name starts circulating, and then it's, have you thought about dancehall queen? And it's just like, it was a proper thing, like a conversation of just like, we're going to enter you into the dancehall queen competition.
In the dancehall queen?
Yeah, the UK one.
What? Dancehall queen competition?
Yes, I'm all there watching the videos. I'm like, oh, can I do it? I think I could do that. And I was this close.
Whoa.
This
Rhoda. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The dancehall queen competition.
Yeah, there's like a whole. It's like a whole
like
thing.
You deep in it like that.
Yeah. It's not that it's just a little club thing. It's like there are competitions I could enter and I win, and maybe there's payment, maybe there's recognition, and I don't know, the odd chance that an artist is in the UK, you could be in their video. Shocking out, doing whatever you're doing. Yeah, it was deep like that. I met other people that they hadn't, these were guys, so they didn't obviously have dancehall queen competitions, but they were respected male dancehall guys, like in the UK. Yeah. And they were the ones, they were the ones that brought it to me. So that's what was gassing me. It wasn't my raving buddies. It's like people
it's the upper echelon, the respected dancehall master of ceremonies, whatever you want to call them. Yeah.
It's those people telling me, consider it. Like, you're sick. Like, why not do this? So yeah, I was fully immersed in that world, and then I accidentally, I just happened to accidentally go to church in the process. And then those two worlds just collide, and I'm like,
So hold on.
yeah.
This is a lot to get my head around.
Yeah.
Because I just thought you just really enjoyed the dance, so you was at the raves. To hear that you was being considered for dancehall queen of whatever competition, whatever year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Makes me know that you're not just immersed. Like, this is something that,
Yeah.
if I can find a way to get to that,
Yeah.
I'm going to that rather than anything else.
Yeah, it was, but again, it wasn't that I was searching for that. It's that it was brought to me as a consideration.
Yeah.
And I think, and it's funny because it's just as that was coming in, it's just as I happened to go to church for, it was something to do with, it was just something to do in the holidays. I think we'd broken up for 6-week holidays or something in school. So you can imagine how young I am. I'm exposing how young I was. So we just broke up, and yeah, I think had I not gone to church or had I not had whatever encounter, I think I don't know where I'd be.
So how does that balance then work? Because obviously you have your friend's party.
Yeah.
Your friend tells you, "Yo, Rhona, please just relax, don't dance. Just hold your corner, and that's my birthday."
Yeah.
And the tune comes on, and then
Yes.
you get me. that happens. That was that's all impression while I'm sitting down. You get me?
I was gonna say, okay, I don't know what move that is.
I don't know what move that is.
Fine.
It just encapsulated everything. Do you know what I mean? All the music one. So that happens. But then obviously you just said you go into church at this point.
Yes. So
how do you balance that?
Yeah, so kind of overlapping the stories a little bit. So that what I'd shared is just my first time of actually stepping foot in a church in years.
Got ya.
So the thing that happened with my friend and her asking me to just not make it about you.
Yeah.
That happened when I was kind of in the thick of, I'd been attending church now.
Oh,
really? I've been going for months. I think maybe even a year at that point.
Because you're trying to hold it down because you
weren't. Because I'm thinking, but at that point I'd attended church. I would say I had emotional encounters with God, but would I say that I'd fully surrendered? No. So that year from when I'd accidentally gone to church just for something to do, to the point of it being my friend's birthday, I wouldn't say I was fully surrendered, because I was still engaging. I was still engaging in the dance hall, like listening to the music, and I wasn't raving as hard or anything like that, but I was still listening to the music. So yeah, that happens because she knows what I'm like. She knows what's going to happen. So she's politely asking, let it be about me. I'm like, you caught me at a good time. That's not a problem. Because
me and God are cool.
Yes, I'm trying to work on this thing with God, because other people are telling me that what I'm doing or how I'm living isn't matching up with what I'm professing to follow. But my thing is show me a verse that says that thou shalt not listen to Vibes Cartel, then I'll stop. I'm not seeing it, so what are we doing? I just didn't understand. I was just like, it's music. You'll survive. Like, you know what I mean? I just saw it as, it's not that deep. It's just the beat. It's just the beat
beats
kind
and
of
rhymes.
thing. Yeah. Which is just so ironic, because it's like, of all, anyway. So when I heard that, I just thought, at the very least, what I can do is I can try out this whole abstaining from raves and abstaining from dancing, and let me do God this favor of just like, because He knows I love Him, and I'm just like, God, you know I love you, and you know I wouldn't intentionally hurt you. So even if I am potentially ignorant to this thing, let me just stop then and just see. And you let me know, because I'm not going to do something if you don't let me know, because I just don't see it. I don't see what the problem is. And I think the issue I had is that people were telling me what to do or telling me what not to do, but they weren't fully explaining the love of God. They weren't explaining the heart of God behind why maybe I should abstain or why I should stay away from certain things. So I then took it to God as they're telling me what to do or what not to do. Well, I'll wait for you to tell me what to do and what not to do. And I wasn't engaging God for his love. I just wanted to know what I was allowed to do or not. So I was just like, yeah, to my friend, you've caught me a good time. I'm not letting myself do this anyway. I'm just giving this thing a trial run where I don't rave and blah, blah, blah. So obviously we know how that went. That didn't go too well.
So realistically, it's because people were telling you about A, you're doing A at the moment, you need to get to B, but they weren't really giving you the journey in between.
No. And it's coming from youth. So this is the thing, is that this isn't coming from adults, because I've been in my church well over a decade. Okay. I love like Ark. Oh my gosh, big up Ark. Like I don't know where I'd be without that church community. So it wasn't necessarily adults or the church or anything like that. It was a select few young people that were probably not as mature anyway in their faith. Wow. And I could tell, for some, I can say this boldly without anything, I know for some of them it was a matter of jealousy. Of who's this girl coming in, mad confident, all this stuff. And I could tell some of it was just from a place of just downright zeal, but not really knowing how to articulate from a place of compassion. So I had this hybrid, and I could smell it. I'd been in the world, so I know what it's like when somebody is jealous or they are skeptical or I could see it. So when it's coming from that place, I'm just like, but you're not even for me anyway. So you're telling me to do something. I'm not even feeling the compassion from you anyway. So what are we doing here? And whereas I felt the love and the compassion in the dancehall community. Wow. So you're telling me to leave a place that gives me affirmation, a sense of community, to come to you who is doing what? Giving me the complete opposite. So my thing is I didn't come for people anyway. I'm not going to leave for people. I'm here because I feel I've had an encounter with the Lord, and so I'm going to take it to him. So I'm like, God, if you've got a problem with it, show me yourself. And that's exactly what he did. And it's so funny because I went in it so naive and so cocky as well. Just naive, just cocky, just like, if it's that deep, then go ahead, Lord. And he showed me his love. And that's the thing, is that I was just overtaken and overwhelmed by the love of God. And a revelation outside of the love of God, just a revelation of God, just as being, as self-sustained. Just, I do not need you. My love for you is bespoken. I want you. I am God. Just unconcealed, just literally deity. And so when you are confronted by that and you have your experiences and your encounter in the dance hall, it's just like, come on. All of this pales in comparison to that. And so the choice to leave that and put it down was so easy, because it wasn't about rules. It was simply God revealing himself. And I think that sometimes that's where we miss it with people, is they come into our churches or they come into our places and spaces, and what we do is we present them laws, but we show it to them in the New Testament without actually getting them to understand the Christ that died for the very sins that they're committing. And I think if we took people's gaze away from rules and do's and don'ts and focused on, I guess, highlighting God just in all the purity of God, is just all powerful, all loving, all knowing, just as deity, right? Just the divinity of God, the sanctity, all of that stuff, then we would have people that are living or walking a life of obedience easy. Because I'm living in response to this greatness. Everything else pales in comparison, like everything. I think about the affirmation I would get in a club, that all the things I was describing to you, the goosebumps, the waves of adrenaline, all of these things, they become dust. They're like a drop of water in an ocean when I weigh that up against the understanding I have of God. and the love and the weight of God. Just in thinking about him. That's not even me encountering, just me thinking about God, or just going outside and looking at what he's created. Yeah, it's beautiful, man.
One of the interesting things that you illustrated out there was the feeling of community in your with doing the dance hall and everything like that outweighed the rules that you were told by people who didn't have the substance or whatever, or the underlying meanings go with those things that we need to follow. So then you were like, why am I going to leave this community if you're just telling me rules? But then you said, but God's love completely outweighed the community that I had over there. And then what tends to happen, as you've just more eloquently described, is that people come in and they're given rules. You can't wear that hat. Why is your jeans this? And sometimes it's about appearance. Sometimes it's about, oh, why do you smell like this? Why do you do this? You can't go to this place. You can't do this. You can't do this. So you smell like alcohol. And already you've kind of put someone off without them experience that you actually love them, or that God loves them. So that puts people off coming back again. Because then it's like, back to your point, why am I leaving this community?
Exactly.
If you guys just give me all these rules and X, Y, and Z that just don't really make sense and don't feel like it's from a loving place. So my question to you is then, how do people struggle with this every day? They come into churches, or they come to particular places where Christians are, and all sorts of things. They feel maybe judged or in a certain feeling, and it kind of puts them off. How do we show more of God's love to those people, especially who come seeking it?
I mean, there are different ways. There are different ways to show the love of God. It's difficult to kind of give a one size fits all approach, because everybody's life is so unique. The things that kind of come about and make their life what it is so unique and so different. So it takes a level of partnership, assistance, walking with that person. The people that I would say got through to me and I listened to the point of being like, well, let me just try it anyway, were the people that were walking with me, the people that would partner with me in life and were with me even whilst I was doing it. And one thing I've learned in being in church and especially in overseeing a church is people are going to do it whether you tell them to anyway. Whether you tell them to do it, whether you tell them not to do it, people are going to carry on doing what they want to do. And you can't hold yourself responsible for the things that somebody does. What you can hold yourself responsible or accountable for is how you treat them as they journey through the things that they do. So your responsibility and your duty is to walk alongside them. So if you know what, they're dressing crazy provocative and you have you don't want it to be a stumbling block to the brothers, come alongside them, you know, befriend them, find out their story, and 9 times out of 10 you will find the root to the very surface thing you're trying to fix on them is actually deep-seated, and it's going to take more than a quick trip to, I don't know, wherever. I'm trying to think of somewhere that sells baggy clothes, but just a quick trip to wherever to cover them up. It's going to take journeying with that person, and as you journey with them, you unpack, you unravel, you evidence whatever it is, whatever misconstrued understanding they have of God, of a father, of this, of that. You use your knowledge and your wisdom to guide them to the scriptures, to plug certain holes, and then you will find, this is the thing, as they have a greater revelation of who and what God is, they have a greater revelation of who and what they are. And naturally, because we are creatures of habit, what we think comes out in our behavior then becomes habit. So when their mind concerning who they are and who God is changes, their actions are going to change. And if their actions change, their habits will change. And before you know it, you've got a being that's living a certain lifestyle, all because you decided to have a conversation that went beyond the surface of clothing and actually dealt with their mind, which was the root issue. So it's going to take partnership. It's going to take walking with a person. It's going to take journey. It's going to take patience as well. And also, I think just a bit of humility and remembering where you were once upon a time. Because I think sometimes we can be in church for so long that we forget that we were once individuals who were not walking with God, who may not have been as clean-mouthed or whatever it is. And the same grace you would have hoped for yourself is the same grace you should extend to other people. So
that's good.
Yeah,
that's really good. How do you go from dancehall raver to preacher, teacher? How does that transition happen?
Yeah.
And did you feel the pressure of that gift?
So like I said, I had a really vivid encounter with God in which he just revealed himself. He revealed his love, he revealed himself. Everything else just fell to the ground, like nothing else mattered. And so what that forced me into was a life of discipline, a life of being essentially a disciple, a follower, one that was rooted in just pursuing God. So that one encounter in just understanding God sparked so much for me.
Really?
It was like the catalyst. It was like the uprooting. It did so much in triggering just change. And to this day, it wasn't a fancy sermon. It wasn't anyone telling me what to do. It was just God revealed. God revealed is what changed the trajectory of my life. God revealed is what cemented my journey. God revealed is what ensured surrender. And all the things that people may have wanted to change, but it came about when God was revealed, you know? And I fell in love with God, fell in love and continue to fall in love with the gospel. And so what that meant is I'm now a disciple. I'm now following. I'm now studying the word. I'm waking up with a desire to study the scripture and see and understand more. And this is the thing, is that when that penny dropped for me, it was kind of weird because I assumed it even when I stepped foot in church. I just assumed I assumed that what the preacher preached on a Sunday, we all did it in the week. I assumed, no, seriously, I was just like, we all do that in the week. And what he's talking about, he's living in the week. So I'm not born in the church, I'm not raised in the church. So I'm like, man, like these people, that's why they're always dancing and they're crying at the altar and they're so happy and da-da-da. So I'm like, man, like this sounds so, and there's so much joy in what he's saying. I want this. I want what they have. And I'm seeing them having encounters and singing joyfully and tambourine. And I'm just like, I want that. Right, so how do I encounter God again? How did he meet what?
Wow.
It's studying, right? Because that's what the preacher said. It's singing in your room, right? Because that's what the preacher said. And that's what I did. Day in, day out. I'd wake up before school. I remember I'd wake up. So I lived a few doors from, no, not a few doors, like a 3-minute walk. I remember we had something called Morning Glory at my church. It'd be like what is it, like 4 till like 6 a.m. or something like that. I'd wake up, I'd go to Morning Glory. Just in the week, just go to Morning Glory. And then I'd go in my uniform and I'd leave there and then maybe I'd go back home, have breakfast, then I'd walk to school. Or I'd go and do that and then maybe I might go back and whatever. And I was just, in my mind, we're all doing this. So me reading, it's not unique, it's just we're Christians, this is what we do. And so what ended up happening was all of this word that's locked up on the inside, all of this pursuit, all this prayer, and it's not my works or anything like that. That's not what I'm trying to pitch or sell here. It's just, I was just so convinced and so persuaded by God that I would find myself in places and spaces, and involuntarily I would end up preaching or speaking or something what I had been chewing on in the week. But I didn't realize what I was, because that's not who do I know that preaches. It's not something I pursued. It's not something that I even necessarily saw in church. I didn't see young girls preach into desire that. It was the first time I really ever remember it happening as I was asked to lead prayer, because that was my things. I once I got rid of all my CDs, all of it, I was like, there's really nothing to do now, because I'd be at home listening to my music back to back, dancing back to back. Now I'm like, what do I do? I'm like, okay, maybe let me pray. So then I started, all that time I'd used to just dance and whatever and listen to my music, it was now prayer. And so I would just pray for time, praying for time. And then I joined the prayer team, all that kind of stuff. Then it'd be, Rhona, lead a prayer. I'd lead prayer, I'm praying, but it's like I've been chewing on the word at home. So when I'm praying,
it's nothing new.
It's laden with scripture, and I'm reminding God of his promises and da-da-da-da-da. And then that would stem into, Lord, will you blah, 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 to we need to da-da-da-da-da. And the Lord is calling us to, and I'm not doing this voluntarily. And I open my eyes, because I've finished my prayer, and it's either pin drop silence and everyone looking like, what just happened? Or it's raucous applause and yes, we do need, and then it's a sister or brother coming up to you saying they were really blessed by what you said. I'm like, what did I say? I thought we were praying. Do you know what I mean? So then my pastor saw a gift, and he just gave me opportunities with like a little exhortation here and there, and then eventually I preached, but before the Sunday congregation. But before that, the first time I preached, it was an accident. It was supposed to be a 10-minute testimony at a youth sleepover in my church. I was supposed to be same way you're sitting next to me, I'm sitting next to you. One of the youth leaders, her name's Michelle. Michelle was interviewing me just to share a little bit more about my conversion process with the dancehall stuff. And what was supposed to be a 10-minute interview turned into an hour-long sermon with all the youth at the front repenting, crying their eyes out. Ministers that had come just laying hands. People speaking in tongues for the first time. This one just confessed. It was just, and I'm just like, God, you're real. Like you are real, So it was all an accident, is what I'm trying to say. It was all an accident. But
you say it was an accident.
Yeah.
But when you look at your life, even from when you were younger, whether it's you going from Uganda to London, London to Uganda, you've been taken up from one place and have to immerse yourself into something, into a whole different culture. Like there's a have to. There's not I like this, let me. Yeah. It's a have to do this. So then what happens when you start to go into the dancehall community? You immerse yourself into that straight away, and that's not even a have to, that's a I want to. Then you move out of the dancehall culture and you start to go into church, and you have that revelation. Now immediately you're like, I want to immerse myself into this, but it all stems from having to immerse yourself in all these different cultures initially, to you knowing, okay, once I feel comfortable in a place, I'm just going to stay here. So then you immerse yourself in the church and in what you're doing, and you say, I have to get all of this. I have to experience all of this. And that's how it seems like you approach life. If I'm in this, I have to experience all of it.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. Like I have to exhaust it. I have to feel it. I have to just ride it till the wheels fall off. I have to get the very best out of it. It has to get the very best out of me. It's either all or nothing. Yeah.
And that's probably why you haven't gone back to the art, because you can't.
Oh gosh, I don't know what would happen. I'll probably end up immersed in that. Probably, I don't know. Yeah, maybe.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens when you do go back to it.
Yeah.
Whether you're able to give all or nothing, or whether it's like, because I can't give all or nothing.
But this is it's good, but it can be a little bit dangerous as well, because it's kind of like what you're saying with the art side of things. It could be, without realizing, quite limiting, because let's say I do want to, but then in the back of my mind I've got this niggling thought that says, oh, but how much time we have to, because I want it to be perfect, not perfect, but I want it to be great. I want to be able to say I did that, you know, and it's got my stamp and I'm proud of this body of work or whatever. So as powerful and as brilliant as it can be, it can also work against you if you let it, kind of thing, because it can be a little bit crippling because you end up not doing certain things because you just want to immerse yourself. But I should take that back. It's not an accident. It was all very strategic, it was all knitted and planned and laid out pretty well. Yeah, kind of thinking back and hearing you say it back to me is when I realised, that's actually, it's all kind of been put together quite strategically by God.
When I hear your story, I understand why you and Omar are together.
Really? Tell me why. I'd love to know. From your perspective, I know why, obviously.
You both immerse yourself in these things.
Yeah.
Like there's no little,
Yeah.
there's no small, there's no 50%.
No.
It's either I'm doing this 100% or
Yeah.
it's not happening.
Yeah. That is him 100%.
But that's you as well.
That's, yeah.
you both do it. Like we just talked about you immersing yourself in all these different communities and different parts of your life. It's exactly the same.
Yeah.
So when we look at Art 2.0 and you two coming together, how does that work? Because now it's requiring you two as a married couple, because 5 years ago you were single.
Yes.
Now you're married to Mr. Rhona Tackie.
Yes.
How do you now immerse yourself, considering how you both know each other are in terms of it's either all or nothing?
Yes.
How do you do that? And how does it affect you two?
Concerning 2.0, concerning generally?
2.0 and then generally.
Okay. So concerning 2.0, it's a really good question. I didn't realize, I mean, I knew we were similar, but hearing it that way, I think it makes a lot of sense. And I think a part of it is why maybe outside of obviously the grace of God, outside of the amazing team that we have, outside of the amazing input we've had from our senior leaders, our senior pastors, like that aside, I think part of the growth that we've seen in 2.0, the passion that we see in the people that attend, the willingness to give and sacrifice, has come from that all or nothing. If you are in this 2.0 church and you're in this group chat and you see the things that go on and you're in the Bible studies and you witness what it's like to be under somebody of that way, you realize that you reap, the benefits are insane, because he isn't trying to be the best preacher. He's not trying to be the best pastor. He's trying to get you to be the best surrendered you can be. Like, just, that's it. Just the best disciple you can be. That's his heart. And so it's like you're getting, by any means necessary, you are getting the very best of him. You'll get the very best of me, where I can afford myself to as well. So what that means for 2.0 is that they, I believe, get rich teaching. They get sincere and transparent leadership. They get covering from people that love them. And when I say wholeheartedly, it sounds like words and it sounds like a cliche. It sounds like a thing that you're supposed to say because it's your church, but it's not. I know Omar and I know myself. I know our leadership team. We love them. It's like I've never mothered a child. He's never fathered a child, but it's like we feel like parents. We feel like these are our children and we've got to nurture and protect them every single step of the way. And even if they fumble, there's this overwhelming sense of covering from the most sincere place. And it's like, I don't want anything from you other than for you to be great. And even if you decide this isn't for you, God bless you on your way out. Find somewhere where you can flourish, kind of thing. So that's how that works with 2.0. How that works for us as a dynamic, as a husband and wife. I think we want to see each other be excellent. I know, and it comes out in the way that we talk to one another, the things that we hope for and dream for. We want to see each other maximize and pull out and basically just live a life where we die empty. So there are a lot of things and conversations that we have behind the scenes, a lot of things that we have in the pipeline, just as far as what he wants to do as an individual, what I want to do as an individual, what we would want to do as a unit. There are lots and lots of conversations that we're having that would mean that when we get to that point of facing our maker, we can say we gave it everything. We need to learn how to rest. We need to learn how to rest. We're learning how to rest. But I think, again, because of the nature, and he said it before, the nature of how this church is growing, we learn to rest at 50, but the way we learn to rest at 50 needs to change when we get to 100. We learn how to rest at 100, we need to learn how to rest when we get to 200. So we're constantly adjusting our methods and our boundaries to ensure that we are resting well, considering the new climate and space that we're in with 2.0. So, yeah.
What impact has your husband had on you as a person?
He's had a massive impact on me as a person. I know for a fact the way that I am right now, even some of the opportunities I've had, wouldn't be here had it not been for him being in my life. He has challenged me to be everything that God's called me to be. He has pulled out a vulnerability in me that I didn't even know I possessed. I thought I was just strong, sassy, independent, I get my own money, got my own car, got my own house. Like, I just thought, yeah, like, I've got it made. Like, I could do battle by myself. Like, it's me, Jesus and the angels kind of thing. And I was on this flex of just, yeah, like, I want, but I don't need anything or anyone. I can just, get on. But he has taught me a level of safety and innocence that I lost so long ago. So all that stuff about responsibility, maturity, just being forced into maturity, it's like I've been forced to regress and go back to having this like childlike innocence and just play. Like I get to play. And that is something that I cherish and I'm so grateful to God for, that this union has given me. As much as people will be like, oh, dynamic duo and all of these things, what they don't see behind the scenes is when we get home, it's just play. It's innocence. It's, I'll do this, babe. And I'm just like, wait, you mean that means I get to sit down? I get to not worry. I get to not, because I'm so used to having to think and organize and strategize and alphabetize and color code and to-do list and to-do list and to-do list. To this day, I still have to-do lists. But there's ways in which he will alleviate me of burdens from my mind that I didn't even know. I didn't even know that could exist for me. Because even when I envisioned marriage, because I think of a skewed view of submission, to be fair, kind of submission, but it's like African girl submission. It was just a bit weird. I thought it was going to be just this role again, just burdensome. I'm just carrying 24/7 with no respite. But that's not been this marriage at all. Nothing like that. So I appreciate him for that. He's also taught me boundaries. Like relational boundaries with people, and just, I think it's weird because even though I was forced into maturity and I gave advice and all this kind of stuff, I I was an individual who was still, because I was in church quite early, I wasn't as street smart.
Yeah.
So I'm always of the impression that you don't intend to hurt me. I'm just...
Naivety.
Yeah, I'm just a little bit naive, a little bit gullible as well. You don't intend to hurt me. You're not a bad person. Like, I'm just, you know what I mean? And so that would just mean I would allow pretty much anything and anyone, not into my space, but I just didn't mind giving a person my ear or I don't know. And so he comes into my life and challenges that because he's obviously very street smart, and challenges my view and my perspective. Well, what did that person mean when they said this? Well, they meant this, this, and this. Okay, but could they also have meant this? And then I'm like, yeah, because that time all the dots start lining up. And then when let's say I challenge said person or I start to pull away, it's like all of it unravels and then bam, what he saw in 5 minutes, I'd been missing for like, I don't know, 10 years or something in certain friendships and stuff like that, or not even friendships, just general things. So I'd say he's given me perspective and generally just brought a lot more laughter in my life as well. A lot of laughter. He's a very silly guy. He on the surface can seem so serious, somber, and just you've interviewed him, so you know. But he is honestly hilarious. He's a clown. He's hilarious and he's really silly and he just brings a lot of joy, a lot of laughter into my life, and I just thank God. Like I always say, he's my answered prayer. He is definitely my answered prayer. So, yeah. Is
a life of mediocrity still your greatest fear, or has that changed? And is it now something else?
Do you know, I know exactly where I was at when I said that. When I said that, I think a part of me secretly meant a life that was slow. So in response to me then, that's not my greatest fear. I don't fear a slow life. I actually want to slow down, and I've tried to slow down a little bit. Not in the sense that I've arrived or whatever, but I'm pacing myself as I live. And I'm trying to be more present in moments rather than trying to just do everything. So in a way, yes, it is a fear, but it's not a fear because I know where I was when I said that. I'd say my greatest fear, for lack of a better word, now would be living a life in which I haven't exercised all that's within me. I think that's what I meant at the time, but it was laced with other stuff because I just wanted to just do. But I do want to give everything and just say, man, like I'm empty. I've given everything. I've poured, I've invested, I've empowered, I've equipped, I've, reared, I've done all of these things. Now I'm good. Like that's to me, that'd be success to me.
My last question to you. For where you're at in life right now.
Yes.
What advice would you give to yourself?
What advice would I give to me right now in my life, in my shoes right now? Be present. I tell myself to be present, to remember to be present. Stop worrying. The future is the future. It's gonna happen whether you worry or not. Stop worrying, breathe. Just keep it slow, keep it steady. You've seen God do it so many times. So trust that he will do it again. Those would be my words to me, is slow down, don't worry. You've seen God do it, he'll do it again. Slow down, don't worry. You've seen God do it, he'll do it again. Like that, it's just those things. I'm trying to think of more, but those are the things I would say to me right now, are the things that would anchor me. And just, yeah, and I know it's very cliche, but just it's another way of saying be present, but just to enjoy the ride. Like where I'm at, I'd say the level of contentment, the level of joy I have, the things I have, like, and I'm not talking about tangible things, I'm talking intangible things that I have are things that I used to weep for. They're things I used to weep in my bedroom for, intercede for, so pull down heaven for. So it's like, my advice is don't be so quick to be caught up in the habits of this generation in wanting and then miss the very things that you've been praying for. And that's it.
Mrs. Rhona Tackie, I really appreciate this.
Thank you so much.
This was a great conversation.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Good. And this conversation with Haych, with the amazing Rhona Tackie. Go check out Art 2.0. Go watch every sermon that she's preached, whether it's on the Rhona Tackie or Rhona Mpologoma.
Yes!
There's more content coming for you very soon. Thank you guys for watching this season of Conversation with Haych. Make sure you like, share and subscribe. My mom told me to tell you guys to do that. And we'll have more stuff coming for you very, very soon.